Hello, my name is Pisalechi. Good afternoon, and we are still on the same matter. What's that matter? We are talking about bride price. Last time we looked at what bride price actually means and the difference between bride price and dowry payment, right? Yeah. So today we're looking at what is what the Bible saying about bride price. Is it biblical? Let's look at it from the scripture today. So we are going to be digging deep. Stay with me. So the first scripture we'll be looking at today is Exodus 22, 16 to 17. What does that place say? Exodus 22, 16 to 17. Stay with me, I'll read from the King James Version. If a man entices a virgin who is not betrothed and lies with her, he shall surely pay the bride price. Are you hearing? The bride price for her to be his wife. If her father utterly refuses to give her to him, he shall pay money according to the bride price of virgins. So in this portion of the Bible, bride price is not paid for brides. It is actually paid for virgins that have been defiled. Bride price is being paid for virgins that have been defiled, not for brides that will be married or would be brides. Let's look at another scripture, Deuteronomy 22 verse 28 and 29. 28 and 29. If a man finds a young woman who is a virgin, who is not betrothed, and he seizes her and lies with her, and they are found out, then the man who laid with her shall give to her father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he has humbled her. He shall not be permitted to divorce her all the days of her life. So in those days, bride price were associated to something kind of like shame. When a virgin is being defiled, that is when you now pay bride price on her head. So I don't know where the notion of today's bride price is coming from. It's now when a bride wants to get married, you now pay the price. Well, you will be the judge of that for yourself, but we're going to read scriptures. The two scriptures we've read now shows that bride price was being paid for a virgin that has been defiled. We remember the story of Dinah, Jacob's daughter too. I'm not going to read that, but to search your scripture. Jacob's daughter too was being defiled, and then her hand was being asked in marriage, but her brothers were so angry. Go and read that story. Read that story. She was being defiled, and then the father of the man who defiled her, I've forgotten his name now. He was a king of that community. I think is it Sichem? Yeah, something like that, Sichem. Also, I'm not sure, not certain. But the father still came to negotiate for the father of the man who defiled her, came to negotiate on her behalf so that she can be taken for wife to be married after the defilement, But so the brothers of Dinah were angry because that will bring shame. That's like they were not supposed to marry with those people, make marriages with those people. And the end of it all was that they got sick. The men of that society got sick or something like that. It's been long I read that story. I can't place it, but it has to do with the same thing: virginity and payment of bride price. So from the two scriptures we've read, it shows that bride price, the name bride price, came from payment for virgins that were defiled. Take note, virgins that were defiled. Now let's see another scripture. Let's see Genesis 24 verse 22. Genesis 24 quickly. Genesis 24, 22, and I read, so it was when the camels had finished drinking. This is the case of Abraham, when he sent his servant to go find a wife for his son Isaac. Okay, so let's read. So it was when the camels had finished drinking that the man took a golden nose ring weighing half a shekel and 2 bracelets for her wrist weighing 10 shekels of gold, and said, "Whose daughter are you? Tell me, please." Now this is the servant of Abraham, and he took a nose ring. You've heard the what? The worth of that ring is half shekel of silver, and gave it to Rebecca, and 2 bracelets, gave it to Rebecca. That's a price. Let's continue. Verse 49 of that same chapter. Verse 49 says, "Now, if you will deal kindly and truly with my master, tell me. If not, tell me that I may turn to the right hand, or to the left hand." This is where the list comes in. This is a servant asking the father-in-law to be, "What would you want me to do to marry this woman, to take this woman for a wife, for my master's son?" That's when we have shown interest as men to marry the woman in question, the list will be given. Okay, or you ask questions. What should be done? How can I go about marrying your daughter? And then a list will be given to you, and you look at it, you talk about it, you negotiate. That is where this comes in. And further down, verse 53 says, "Then the servant brought out jewelry of silver, jewelries of gold, and clothing, and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave precious things to her brother and to her mother." Now, things were not just given to Rebecca, the wife to be. That's where I said, you don't just marry the woman. For a beating couple, you just elope, you carry somebody's daughter and you run away. You don't just marry the woman. You also marry her family. You don't just give things to the woman, you also give to her family. It is vice versa. It is a union of two families. It's the union of two entities coming together to become one. Okay, so let's take note of this. What do you think has been done here? A transaction has been done. This last verse I read, a transaction has been done. He's giving jewelries of gold and of silver and clothing to the entire family and to Rebecca just to marry her. That is where that value, there's an exchange for something you want, something of what? Rebecca was of what? To his master's son. That's the wife he's looking for, and so he had to pay something. You think he came here empty-handed? Abraham must have given him something to buy over the woman, to take over the woman he would want his son to settle for. That is the bride price. That is the bride price. In quote, we've just read scriptures that says bride price were for virgins, virgins that were defiled. But now in our modern traditions, we call it bride price, bride wealth, dowry, or whatever. That is what I'm trying to say, is that a value must be given. A value must be given in exchange of that man's daughter you want to marry. You don't just pick somebody's daughter and just run away and elope without doing anything whatsoever on her head. Sometimes money wasn't mentioned. It could be property. It could be in the list. Money wasn't mentioned at all. In those days, they used to give they used to count calories, and they used to give gold, they used to give silver and all those stuffs. Anything that you can afford, then you must give something in exchange. You've seen the biblical scripture. Time will fail me. Let's read one more scripture. Genesis. Okay, when you get after this video, time has failed me. Go back and read Genesis 29 verse 18. I think that's the case of Jacob. Genesis 29:18. Genesis 29:18. Now Jacob loved Rachel, so he said, "I will serve you 7 years for Rachel, your younger daughter." He paid in kind. He didn't have the money, he did not have the resources, he did not have the property, but he loved this girl and wanted to settle with him. How many years did he pay for her? 7 years. 7 years. So there's always a place of a man sowing something, paying something, giving something because of that woman he's going after. So Jacob served 7 years. It didn't even end in the 7 years. I think he served another 7 years because he was deceived. He still went the extra mile. And to him, the Bible records that Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed only a few days for him because of the love he had for her. So I said in my last video, something of what? Something of value must be paid for. It could be paid for in cash, it could be paid for in kind. If you love that woman, if you value that woman, if she's of worth to you, then you have to sacrifice. You have to pay. You have to pay. You have to pay for her hand in marriage. Okay, so that is what the Bible says about bride price, or what you choose to call it. We've looked at it. Is it biblical? We will continue this video next time. Our time is fast spent. I hope you've been blessed by this. God bless you. Like, share, and subscribe.